When you get great producers, you get genius music makers, you expect them to stay in the genius position. And there's one producer, one beat maker who's had a hell of a run in a career. And then all of a sudden it just went topsy turvy. And I really want to know where he's at. We finna find out. We finna dive into this video right now. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's dig in.
A man inside Gwinnett County Jail was pacing, agitated, exposing himself to a cellmate, and then starting fights with every person they put him near. People who knew him, people who had sat across studio consoles from him, watched him build records from nothing, said they didn't recognize the person in that footage. One person who claimed to have spoken to the jail directly described him putting his genitals on another inmate's head. The word that kept coming back from those closest to him was the same one every time. He lost it. The man behind those bars had once been called the architect of an entire sound. He was the producer who handed Chicago its first truly original musical identity since Kanye West. His beats launched careers, reshaped the rap industry.
Young Chop, ladies and gentlemen. And we got to give it to Young Chop. He's one of the greatest out, Chicago. The man has smooth ass beats. I don't know what happened to him. This story right here is going to tell us everything. We're going to get to the bottom of what happened to his career, how it went up, how it went down. The whole merry-go-round that he took along his journey. Let's keep going.
And put a city on the map. His name is Tyree Lamar Pittman, aka Young Chop. By the time those jail reports started circulating, the distance between who he had been and who he appeared to be was so enormous it felt impossible to reconcile. This is the story of how that distance was built. One loss, one decision, 1 year at a time. The South Side, October 14th, 1993, on the south side of Chicago, a part of the city that has always operated on its own frequency. Learned early, and the music that comes out of it tends to carry the weight of everything that shaped it. Chicago in the late 90s and early 2000s had artists who broke through did with Gucci Mane or the way the coast had been dictating rap's direction for decades. What Chicago had was energy without a container, raw, restless, and looking for a form. Pittman's household wasn't small. His mother had adopted 5 children from her brother, which meant the house was full, loud, and crowded with competing demands on everything. Space, attention, time. The one thing nobody competed with Pittman for was the family around the age of 12 was making beats. His cousin had shown him through trial and error, through listening obsessively to the...
I had to pause that. I seen it skipping. I seen what it was trying to do, y'all. You know how you got to do it, right? Right? You guys to do that sometimes. Sometimes that's what it takes to make that happen. Let's keep going.
Producers whose work he admired. Pharrell, Timbaland, Drummer Boy, Zaytoven. He studied the structures underneath Gucci Mane's mixtape records. The bass weight, the tempo, the way a melody could make something feel dangerous without saying a single word. In a 2013 XXL interview, Chop said he initially took over entirely. That pivot from wanting to perform to wanting to build the world the performer would live inside turned out to be everything. Through those school years, he was already moving beats around the South Side, connecting with kids who would later become significant figures in their own right. Lil Durk, Lil Reese, Lil JoJo. The network was forming before anyone had a...
And he had a wild connection, man. He had a large connection. He had a wide range of, people that he can actually venture through and get himself out there. I think that was a good thing, gang. Because a lot of Chicago people, if you look at a lot of Chicago guys, they make it out the hood, right? They get out the hood, they find themselves getting caught back up into the street lives. You know what I'm saying? Like into street shit, into beefs, gang life. And I always said to myself, I said, look, if I ever was to get that rich off music, anything that I did, gang, you better believe I'm stepping out of the motherfucking street. Ain't no way in hell I'm feeling still in the street doing anything. You know what I'm talking about? That's just not gonna happen. I think if anything, my nigga, if I find myself getting rich, get the millions, my nigga, I'm finna fucking chill, relax. I'm gonna make the motherfucking most money I can, and you understand what I'm saying? I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I think that's what all these niggas should do. These niggas don't. These niggas don't. You see Durkio end up making it out, and then he put himself right back in the same situation. Chief Keef almost had a situation like that just take place the other day in Chicago, going back. You feel me? And shout out to Chief Keef, man. You made it out. Stay out there. You know, fuck that. It's never important. Niggas in the hood don't mean good, gang. You done already won. You know, ain't nothing else to prove. What do you got to prove? And Chop made it. Chop went so far. He doing beats, gang. This nigga ain't even had to do a verse. Ain't had to sing or nothing. Right? And he took himself where every other artist from Chicago take themselves off the motherfucking block, off the motherfucking square that they done won themselves. Like they moved themselves all the way out the equation of money making, the equation of being in the industry, dealing with these industry cats, being able to become the top-notch super producer that he is. That he worked so hard to become. He made it there, gang. Like, why are you going backwards? Why would you go backwards? Come on, make that make sense.
For what they were building. The connection to Chief Keef came through a mutual friend named Adai, who brought them together during the sessions for Keef's early mixtape, Bang. The buzz that Bang and Keef's follow-up tape, The Glory Road, started generating in Chicago came in significant part from what Chop was putting underneath those songs. Darker, harder, more ominous than what was being made elsewhere. But before that momentum could fully build, Chop got arrested for firing shots from his car, and the sessions paused. When Keef got out of his own juvenile detention stint and started making moves again, he reached out to Chop on Facebook. What happened next is one of those origin moments that sound almost too clean in retrospect, except that the people involved told it the same way every time. Chop, still in high school, would get out of...
So Chop was with Juvenile? Is that what I'm understanding? I need to go back. I gotta hear that. I don't know. I mean, or if it wasn't Chop, he said Chief Keef. Whoever the fuck it was, let's find out.
Class at 3:50 in the afternoon. Was on juvenile detention stint and started making... He reached out to Chop on Facebook. What happened is one of those origins that sounds...
It seemed like Chief Keef probably did a tour with Juvenile. Shout out Chief Keef again. That's what's up. That's what's up. Congratulations. Because like I said, Chief, he didn't look back. He didn't. Chop, I don't know. Chop was a high school student. I didn't even know that. So, he was still immature. He still had some growing to do.
Clean in retrospect, except that the people involved told it the same way every time. Chop, still in high school, would get out of class at 3:50 in the afternoon, grab his desktop computer, not a laptop, an actual desktop machine he carried around to sessions because that was all he had, and head straight to Keef's place, where Keef was on house arrest. They cooked up the track 300 in a single session. Chop told the story himself. He got released from jail. He was on house arrest, and then he called me like, bro, I want you to come do my whole mixtape. I just brought my studio to his house every day after school. Literally, school gets out at like 3:50, I'm at his house. 300 was the record that made people pay attention. Not industry attention yet, Chicago attention. The kind that matters in a city where the street response tells you everything. The music video was nothing polished. Keith and his crew rapping where they actually lived, with Chop's production sitting underneath it like something that had crawled up from somewhere underground. What followed was the record that changed everything. In March 2012, Young Chop and Chief Keef released I Don't Like. The song accumulated over 1 million YouTube views almost immediately, and the momentum that followed moved faster than either of them had prepared for. Pitchfork later described the beat as built around thudding drums, tinny chimes, and horror film melodies, a combination that established drill music as something distinct, not just geographically, but sonically and emotionally. Billboard called Chop Chicago's go-to producer and singled out his sample-free approach, heavy 808s, sparse melodies, no borrowed sounds, as the defining quality of what he was building. Then Kanye West got involved. Kanye, Pusha T, Big Sean, and Jadakiss all jumped on a remix of I Don't Like, and the song entered a completely different tier of visibility. For most producers, this is the moment you tell your grandchildren about.
He blew up right there. He blew the fuck up right there. You know? Yeah. The biggest blow up you can have, right? You got Pusha T, you got Big Sean, you got Kanye, and then the killer part is Kanye from Chicago. You feel me? So Chop was already in the door once Kanye really put his hands on it. You know? He's been there. I think when you get that spotlight game, you gotta run off with that spotlight. That ain't something you get and you play with. You know what I'm saying? When you get in that position, my nigga, you take the fuck off. Why would you even, you know? You already know where you came from. You know what hood you came from, my nigga. You know how hard it is to get in that position with them artists, with them rappers. You understand what I'm saying? So why the fuck would you even fuck yourself off? Why would you waste your talent? You know? Chop is very talented, my nigga. And that's why everybody wanted to go to him, venture to him for beats. Like, that nigga make that shit happen. Fuck you talking about? But it ain't too many niggas that believe in themselves. You heard what he said. He took the desktop from the crib. But desktop is big as a motherfucker. That's a large ass computer, man. Like, so for him to even, you know, drag that motherfucker around house to house, you know he was really believing in himself and his craft. He really was about that money and he really wanted that bag. So, you know, I don't know what the fuck Chop was thinking when he went to jail, shooting out the vehicle, you doing all this extra weirdo shit, Chop.
Being one of the earliest signs that he didn't respond well to situations where his work was touched without his permission. In a Pitchfork Rising feature, Chop said he threatened legal action against Kanye because West had altered his drum pattern without consent. He told XXL what he felt when he first heard the remix. I'm hearing the song and there's different sounds in the beat. It don't even sound like the real beat. It sounded like a rock star beat, and that's not how I do it. That's not my sound. He had specifically asked to hear the remix before it dropped and had only found out it existed when it came on the radio. He was actually in the studio the day Big Sean recorded his verse, but it was laid over the altered version of his beat. Chop had no idea the changes were coming. Kanye eventually reached out to...
Why do the artists do this? I think a lot of artists do this because they think, oh, the nigga ain't big. Don't nobody know him. That's the main thing. Don't nobody know him. Ain't nobody gonna know. You feel me? Yeah, he making hot shit. We like that shit. Let's take it. He can't. You feel me? We ain't gotta worry about getting it cleared. We ain't gotta, you know, that's bullshit. I see Dirk was doing that too. I heard that from a few artists. Dirk, he not getting songs clear with the record label. Record label don't even know he out here doing, you feel me, shit with these people. But at the end of the day, you up here doing shit with these people, you getting money for it, and then you fake them and play it out. Like, come on, gang. I think that's why the karma came back, you know, like it did. And it wasn't spiritual karma. It was a fucking earthly karma that came back because, nigga, now you burning people out their money. Like, so you gotta make that shit make sense. And then Kanye doing it. Now I see why the shit took place with Kanye. And Chop, shit, I think they should have took Chop under their wing. Somebody should have really picked up Chop and actually walked him, guided him, took him under the wing and actually showed him a few more tips and tricks because this man too talented to just, they just said, fuck Chop. He a fat, greasy ball ass nigga. We're gonna use his beats and move him around. You understand what I'm saying? That's too lame. But at the end of the day, I think they still owe him a lot of money for everything that he done for them. You know, all these musicians that he done work for, they still got to pay it back for it. You know, I'm sure he didn't get everything he was initially owed because right away he giving these people free beats and they didn't clear it out, my nigga. And then y'all don't even know what these people finna make off these beats yet that you gave him. The songs ain't even sold yet. Do you understand what I'm saying? The shit ain't even hit the streams yet. So I think Chop is probably still owes some money unless he done got himself in some situation where he wasn't paying people. You understand? Then that's a funny situation.
To smooth things over, and publicly the situation was declared resolved. In 2013, Chop was even brought in to work on sessions for Jesus, and he described the experience to DJ Vlad with genuine admiration, calling Kanye really motherfucking talented, and noting that Kanye had taken his advice in the studio, asking for his feedback on decisions and listening to the answers. But the resolution never fully settled in Chop's mind. By 2015, in an interview with DJ Booth, he was still framing Kanye as someone who had taken from him, and Keith specifically. He wanted me and he wanted that sound. He was taken from us. You feel what I'm saying? He put it even more plainly in another interview that year, laying out what he saw as a pattern in how Kanye operated, surrounding himself with people, absorbing what they knew, and then disappearing. Kanye don't make it no better, you feel me? He'd be right along with you, try to soak up everything niggas know, get you to write songs for him, you know, and then don't call you after that. Whatever the full truth of that dynamic, the professional relationship between Chop and Keith continued to produce. The album, Finally Rich, released in December 2012 and executive produced by Young Chop, carried 7 Chop-produced tracks and became the document that introduced drill music to the mainstream. Love Sosa alone was described by The Ringer as a quantum leap for both artists, with Chop's production characterized as a thunderous and funereal suite that evolved the sound of drill. He had also secured a publishing deal with Warner Brothers earlier that year after the buzz from Keith's early. He was 18 years old. The infrastructure he helped to build went well beyond his own discography. The success of Finally Rich created the conditions for artists like Lil Durk, Lil Reese, and Fredo Santana to get signed and move nationally. Billboard, Pitchfork, and The Ringer would each later cite his production as foundational to not just drill's rise, but the broader transformation of trap music in the years that followed. The producers who came up behind him, Metro Boomin, Pierre Bourne, carried sonic fingerprints that traced back to what Chop had assembled in a Southside bedroom on a family computer. That was who Young Chop was in 2013. 18, nationally recognized, signed in the studio with Kanye West, and at the center of the most culturally significant rap movement the Midwest had produced in a generation. The version of him that would exist 7 years later barely resembled any of this. The fracture, the industry tensions that surfaced in the wake of the Kanye remix were manageable.
How many of us knew that Chop, made it that far, or even knew about Kanye to run off with your music, or get around a whole bunch of people, soak up their energy and take what they got, and then just use it for itself? I'm not sure. I don't know. I know Kanye is one of the greatest creators. They say he made it out of Chicago, him along with Dirt Chief and G Herbo. Shout out to them cats, man. You gotta give them I just don't believe in doing nobody wrong. They talent and they industry work. If you put that energy in that work, gang, and this is your hard-earned work, I think it's only fair and it's only right that y'all pay honor and respect and pay the motherfucking money that's due. You feel me? For the niggas work. Pop, on the other hand, I don't know what he did to probably, put himself in a situation like this, because shit, I ain't gonna lie to you, after this, nobody really worked with Chop no more. That was the strangest part. I never knew why. I think I'm getting a little bit of understanding now why, what took place, I guess. But we're gonna keep going down this rabbit hole and figure something else out and see why Chop, career has went left. And I did see him recently drop some more music. The moment he got out of jail, I believe he dropped a rap video, and I'm like, I know Chop. I'm like, damn, I'm rooting for him because the shit sounded hot, beats fire. I wonder, did he make his own beats? He probably did. You feel me? Which I would too, nigga. You gonna get all your money back for that shit. Fuck that. Right? No time to be letting nobody else come produce your shit and engineer your shit. Definitely not if you know how to do it. But I haven't heard anything else from him. Lil Fo came back also. So it's like a lot of Chicago people bouncing back. Definitely since Durkio went to jail. It's like they trying to, get their win back in or whatever. They trying to keep their talent flowing and show the world, hey, yo, I still got this. I'm still in the limelight. I ain't forgotten about it. So
What came next wasn't. Between 2013 and 2016, Chop's professional life maintained some momentum. He released projects, stayed active, kept extending his production network to artists like French Montana, but the ground underneath him was shifting in ways that had nothing to do with music. The relationship with Keef hit a rough patch around 2014 when Keef publicly co-signed a diss track from The Game and Tyga called Chirac to LA, which targeted Lil Durk. Chop felt that Keef siding with West Coast artists against Chicago rappers was disrespectful, and he said so publicly. When Interscope dropped Keef from the label that same year, Chop defended him loudly, calling him the smartest motherfucker in the world and questioning why a label would drop an artist whose album had already recouped its costs. The tension between them never metastasized into a real falling out. Chop later told XXL that Keef remained his little brother and that there would never be real bad blood between them. But it illustrated something about how Chop processed conflict loudly, publicly, and with a loyalty that could tip into volatility when he felt it wasn't being returned. Between 2014 and 2016, Chop kept releasing material and working with a widening circle of artists. He collaborated with French Montana, extended his presence beyond the Chicago bubble he'd helped create, and dropped solo projects that showed he could translate his production instincts into his own artist narrative. The Fader profiled him in late 2014 and described a producer still operating at a high level, still hungry, still building, loyal to Keef while pushing into new territory. For a stretch, the internal turbulence stayed private. In 2015, his grandmother died. A year later, his mother followed. Those two losses need to be understood together because they weren't just personal tragedies. They removed the two anchors his daily life had been built around. His mother in particular was a constant present force. Chop never got a driver's license, even after the money started coming in and the career demanded constant movement. His mother drove him everywhere, to interviews, studio sessions, road trips, all of it. Vice had captured this for their Noisy Chirac documentary, filming her behind the wheel while Chop talked about his career. She wasn't adjacent to his life, she was inside the infrastructure of it.
Hey, that's what's up, man. Shout out to Chop's moms, man. Condolences. You know, I never knew he lost his moms and shit, then grandmas. And to know that was his only pillar in his family, you know what I'm saying? I can understand that. And Chicago was almost like Milwaukee, man. You know, them young kids out there, they grow up without their fathers a lot of times. Shit, dads get killed out there. They in gangs and shit like that. So moms be the only one to really take care of the shorties. And, you know, you got to look at it like this. Sometimes moms might not know everything. Their moms might not know everything out there because, for one, they're under a lot of pressure of just being alone. You understand? They're under a lot of pressure of just trying to raise. First off, a man, it's hard for a woman to try to raise a man. That shit just like a lot of impossible. But at the end of the day, it can be done. But, you know, it take a lot of work, right? And then another sense, too, that, like, he just kept going. And then, you know, he lost one of his biggest pillars. And then next, you know, granny. And a lot of us, you know, everybody love their grannies. A lot of y'all out there, if you came from my area, your grandma was the shit. She was doing everything for you. She was looking out. I'm talking about making sure you got everything. I can't say the same. I ain't gonna lie. My grandma, I don't know. It wasn't that like that. But at the end of the day, you know, his mom and granny was in his life, pushed him probably to keep going with his music, never give up. And I just want to give condolences to that shit. That shit ill. That's real shit right there, you know?
16 XXL interview promoting his album King Chop, he said he kept her memory alive by bringing her to the studio during the album's creation, speaking about her in a way that made clear how entirely central she had been. Losing her 1 year after losing his grandmother produced a kind of grief that had nowhere obvious to go. He kept releasing music. He and Keef reconciled in 2016 and started working together again. Keef called him to California and they recorded new material. And for a brief stretch, it seemed like the creative partnership might stabilize the rest of what was unraveling. But the stability didn't hold. By 2020, what had been a slow deterioration became a visible collapse. In February of that year, Chop was charged with aggravated cruelty to animals after authorities alleged he had starved a dog to death. He was placed on probation. Weeks later, whatever internal restraint had been keeping his behavior within recognizable bounds gave out entirely. During an Instagram live session with Gilly Da Kid, Chop was asked to name the scariest person in rap who was actually soft. His answer was 21 Savage, and he escalated quickly from there, claiming he had once shown up to a studio session where both 21 and Meek Mill were present, armed, and that both of them had left the studio as soon as they realized it. He said it directly, the way someone says something they have been holding in. I was in the studio with him and Meek. Niggas ain't living like that. I had that, you dig, on me. Niggas left the studio. Swear to God. The response from Meek Mill was not what anyone expected from a rap beef. Meek didn't fire back with a diss or a threat. He went on Twitter and expressed concern. It's obvious Chop having some mental issues. Y'all be gassing stuff so much, y'all just gonna ignore it. I've been getting beats from him for years. Hope he get well. French Montana was harsher in how he framed the same concern. He tweeted that Chop needed to be in a mental institution and that if someone who cared about him didn't get him somewhere safe, people would only hear about him again when he was gone. 21 Savage posted an Instagram story that was equal parts confused and dismissive, telling fans to go buy Chop's tape because he needed the streams and to pray for him because he had lost his mind. Chop did not register any of this as concern. He treated it as ammunition. He went live again and told his audience that he and 21 lived in the same area of Atlanta. They shopped at the same Walmart, he said, which meant they could settle things at any time. He released a diss track aimed directly at 21. He posted a photo of 21 Savage with Amber Rose holding a sign with an insult written on it. And then he took things somewhere that removed any remaining ambiguity about his mental state. He got into the back of an Uber and live streamed himself riding through 21 Savage's old neighborhood in Atlanta, leaning out and asking strangers on the street where 21 lived. What happened during that ride is documented in both the video he broadcast and the arrest report that followed. At some point during the trip, he got into an argument with a random man on the street and pulled out a semi-automatic handgun, creating a scene before getting back in the car. As the Uber drove away, a sedan pulled up alongside them and shots were fired, hitting the vehicle. Chop told the driver to chase the sedan. They couldn't catch up. Chop then asked to be taken home and offered to pay for the damage to the car, along with asking the driver not to report anything to the police. The driver reported it, and on April 5th, 2020, Chop was arrested for reckless conduct. He was also cited for driving without a license.
Now, he should have known, goddamn it, that goddamn driver was gonna report that shit, man. Come on now. And we all know that because Zay Osama, his driver reported the switch on the gun, left in the back of the car, right? The money don't really, the money trying to bribe these motherfuckers, the money don't really work. It's like this, these people got favoritism and picks, and if they fucking don't like you, they ain't gonna pick you. They gonna rat you out. And I think that's the most killer part, because Chop just got through going through some shit. He lost his mom, he lost his grandma, and I don't think nobody knew that. And that's the crazy part is, they tell you to be able to control yourself and your emotions. Don't nobody know what the fuck you going through out here in the street. And more so, don't nobody really be caring about what people go through in the street. So it's like, if you go out there and you flashing out because you already going through some shit, you got to make sure that you flash out in the right sense, not just flashing out on people like he did. He going to 21 Savage here. Hey, where 21 Savage at? None of that shit really, steams, like beneficial. Everything steams negativity. Definitely from that point on, like, Chop, you already was, going through enough. You don't need to add no more to your plate, my boy. Definitely don't. Bad enough, like I said, family members gone, your strongest pillars. They probably was the people who kept you recording, doing music. Mom's probably pumping you, gassing you up, like, hey, yo, keep going. And she let that shit, because you taking them out the hood, you helping them. You know what I'm saying? So Binary Bridge, that shit, crazy. And now it's like everybody going down that line in Chicago, gang, except for Chief. Chief, he the only one that stayed away. Smart.
And with expired tags. Technically, he was a passenger, but the citations reflected the accumulating mess of his situation. 11 days later, Gwinnett County deputies arrested him again, this time for violating the probation from the animal cruelty case. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution confirmed he was booked on 2 counts of probation violation. He had been out of jail for the first arrest for less than 2 weeks. Around the same time he was cycling through those beefs, Chop also started attacking someone who had no apparent connection to any of it. He and R&B singer Chanel Kingston had previously collaborated. Kingston had a track called Kissing Girls that Chop had worked on. Out of nowhere, Chop began publicly questioning Kingston's sexuality, making comments that had no precedent in any previous conflict between them and left observers genuinely confused about the logic. Chop issued something that functioned as an apology and then almost immediately repeated the original comments. The pattern, saying something damaging, walking it back partially, then doubling down, had become so consistent that it stopped reading as impulsiveness and started reading as a method. The King Von situation ran along the same track. During a separate Instagram live, Chop jumped uninvited into the chat on a live stream connected to King Von's girlfriend, agitating and provoking until Von addressed him directly, visibly frustrated. Chop hadn't been part of whatever was happening on that stream. There was no prior conflict with Von that explained the intrusion. He was simply looking for friction, finding it and escalating it in multiple directions simultaneously at a pace that made it difficult to track where any single beef started or ended. Rolling Stone later noted that when Chop reflected on his 2020 actions, he acknowledged they were stupid. That acknowledgement, offered after the fact, doesn't change what happened, but it matters that he could see it at all, even from a distance. The weight of what remains. The full collapse came in layers, each one arriving before the previous had settled. In April 2022, Chop was arrested for jumping bail on his previous charges. He had failed to appear for a required fingerprinting appointment, which meant the original probation violation and reckless conduct charges now had this new layer sitting on top.
And you know what's crazy, gang? It's for a pet. Because he beat the pet. You feel me? So he fucking violating all this time, still, creating trouble for himself. And the original fucking case was animal abuse, right? That's crazy, man. At some point, Chop should have got it in his head, like, bro, let me go do this. He missing court for fingerprint scans and shit. Some of the weakest shit, gang. Like, he created a case for himself, and he didn't even have to. And this is what I be saying. Like, some celebrities, the shit they do out here, gang. If you look around you right now, the people around you, some of them, not everybody, but some of the people around you, they got common sense and a fucking intelligent head on their shoulders. They're not gonna waste their fucking time losing no money or losing no sleep over bullshit. Definitely not a fucking animal abuse case. Come on. Take your ass to court, keep making music. You understand what I'm saying? Your mom, she watching down on you. She wants you to keep going. And at the end of the day, the only thing this nigga could do is keep causing problems for himself and others. And you know who it benefited? Not him. He didn't benefit from this shit. This is why I be telling niggas, negativity don't pay off, my nigga. You ain't benefiting from that shit, nigga. If anything, you finna lose more than you gain from that. You feel me? You play stupid games, you get them dumbass rewards. And I think Chop, he got the dumbest reward, my nigga. You in the field with Chief Keef, all in Cali, making millions off beats. You ain't doing nothing but sit at the computer and make a beat, my nigga. That's easy. Like, come on.
The arrest landed him in Gwinnett County Jail, where he would remain for over 2 years. That same month, his brother Johnny May Cash, a rapper himself, was killed by his not big kill of Johnny Bruce beating had circulated months. Described the shooting as clearly an act of self-defense. The courts agreed. For Chop, who had already lost his mother and grandmother, who is now sitting in a county jail, the news arrived as yet another amputation. The social media presence that had been so chaotic and loud throughout 2020 went almost entirely silent. What happened inside Gwinnett County Jail over those 2+ years circulated in fragments, most of them impossible to fully verify. What can be confirmed comes from a video published by XXL in June 2024, which showed Chop in a physical altercation with a cellmate. According to the article, the fight started after another inmate accused him of talking to himself while using a tablet. When the confrontation escalated, they exchanged punches until correctional officers separated them. The video was grainy and fast, but it showed a man who did not appear to be functioning with any recognizable stability. not surviving a bad situation quietly, as people in county jail generally try to do, but actively creating new crises inside the one he was already in. The 2 years in Gwinnett also represented something that had no musical equivalent, a full stop. From 2012 to 2020, even in the difficult years, there was always output, a beat, a project, a collaboration, a social media presence that at minimum confirmed he was still operating. The incarceration removed all of that. No music, no interviews. The only documentation of his existence during that period came from the jail fight video and whatever secondhand accounts circulated from people claiming to know what was happening behind those walls. For a man whose entire public identity had been built through noise, through production, through controversy, through the inability to stay quiet, the silence was its own kind of statement. The more extreme accounts, the reports about sexual behavior toward other inmates, the claims made by people who said they had called the jail or seen footage of things that couldn't be described plainly, circulated primarily through social media and YouTube commentary, often via people who claim to have inside information. None of these accounts, as of the time this script was written, have been verified through court documents, official reports, or credible news organizations. They exist in that particular zone of internet culture where a man's deterioration becomes content, where the worse the story, the more it spreads, and where the absence of denial is treated as confirmation. What is documented,
It get deep. It get deep, gang, because I remember when I first heard about this, about like 2-3 years ago, I was asking the same question I am now. Like, where the hell is Chop? You know what I'm saying? Drum bro. Like, where's he at? And I looked around, looked back, and shit. I'm like, damn, he in jail for what? What did he do? And lo and behold, you feel me? Like I said, sometimes life do beat you up, but you can't let that shit beat you up like that. Man, you gotta fight back. You gotta get your ass up off your motherfucking depressed ass, off the sad ass. You feel me? And fight back, my nigga. It's gonna be hard, yeah, but I can tell you one thing I do know. Chop actually presented these events to itself. As far as the family dying and as far as that, nah, it had nothing to do with that, but his career, his jail time that he had to serve, and everything that he done to all these artists he was working with, and then he started to come out and talk about them. Maybe he was angry because they wasn't buying beats from him no more. Maybe because somebody probably bought him and told him, motherfucker, look, stop fucking with Chop, this, that, and the other. Because that's how them Chicago niggas keep working. So I think that's possibly, that's possibly what happened. I'm not sure, but Chop just went crazy, man. That's what it seemed like. It seemed like Chop lost it all once he lost people, once he lost his support team, once he lost other friends. Like, shit, Chief Keef, he started growing. That nigga, he had to separate himself anyway. And I believe Chief got smart. He must have had somebody in his ears like, yo, leave them niggas alone. Them niggas foolish. They gonna get you wrapped up, and niggas still on that same dumb shit. You gotta separate yourself. And Chief did just that. That's what he did. He didn't keep hanging with Chicago niggas. He made sure he got himself out of their motherfucking way. I would have too. You feel me? That's the only thing you can do. Definitely if you're making big bucks, move around. Don't stay in Chicago. Move your motherfucking family about it if you want to stay making money. If you want to stay getting them dollars and stay, you feel me, getting support. Then do it. If everybody with another support, never look back. Chop shit get the same goddamn thing.
The years of reckless behavior leading to his incarceration, the mental health concerns raised by people who actually knew him is disturbing enough on its own that the unverified accounts feel almost redundant. Something clearly went wrong. The exact shape of that wrongness in its full detail remains partially in shadow. In December 2024, Young Chop was released from Gwinnett County Jail after over 2 years of incarceration. The first public confirmation came from producer Chop Squad DJ, who posted a FaceTime screenshot of Chop smiling. It was the first image of him that had circulated in years that didn't involve handcuffs or a courtroom. Rolling Stone conducted an interview after his release in which Chop spoke about wanting to get back into the studio and reconnect with Chief Keef. He said his 2020 behavior was stupid. He said he wanted to focus on music. The question of what his legacy actually amounts to, separated from everything that followed his peak, is not a simple one. Vice's documentation of drill music's history described the July 2012 release of I Don't Like as the nuclear moment that introduced the genre to the world and placed Chop's production at the center of that moment. Pitchfork's list of the 200 best songs of the 2010s included it, citing the production as essential to establishing drill as a subgenre in its own right. The Ringer's documentation of rap's decade placed Love Souza as a record that evolved the sound of drill and extended its reach far beyond Chicago. Billboard's coverage during his peak years described him as the go-to architect of an entire city's sound. The producers who came up after him, Metro Boomin, Pierre Bourne, and others who would shape the sound of trap in the second half of the 2010s, carry sonic DNA that ran through what Chop had assembled. The eerie melodies, the 808 weight, the sense of space inside the beat that made room for the voice without competing with it. These were tools Chop refined before most of his successors had heard of FL Studio. The Fader noted in 2014 that his style had influenced a generation of producers and that he was still expanding his work, staying loyal to Keith while reaching out to artists on other coasts. He had, in the words of the music journalists who were paying closest attention at the time, built something that the industry would spend years trying to reproduce. All of that happened. Adani, it is not canceled by what came afterward, but it is impossible to discuss without what came afterwards sitting right beside it. The grief he carried from losing his mother and grandmother, the rage that surfaced in his public confrontations, which grew less coherent and more dangerous the further he got from the period when music was absorbing most of his energy, the animal cruelty charge, the reckless conduct arrest, the Uber rides, and the live stream gunfire and the fights inside a county jail. The brother who died in circumstances that were violent and preventable. All of it is part of the same story. There are people who knew Chop in the early years who have said in various interviews and online reflections that they believe something was done to him, that someone gave him something, slipped him something, that the person they knew before a certain point and the person who appeared after were different in a way that felt chemical rather than purely psychological. Others have compared his trajectory to Kanye West's, the misunderstood genius whose mental health needs were never taken seriously by that preferred to profit the volatility and address it. These theories exist because the transfer was so complete, so total, that people who cared about him needed an explanation that matched the scale of what they were watching. Whether there is a single explanation, whether it's grief, mental illness, the accumulated pressure of fame arriving at 18 on the South Side, or some combination of all of it, is a question that doesn't have a clean answer sitting in any court record or interview transcript. What exists is the arc, a kid with a family computer and a cousin who showed him a software program, who built a sound that a city had been waiting for, who stood in the studio with Kanye West at 19 and was taken seriously enough to be consulted, who produced the records that gave Lil Durk and Lil Reese and an entire generation of Chicago rappers the vehicle to reach the world, and who ended up over a decade later fighting cellmates in a county jail and cycling in and out of arrests for violations that started with a dog he was accused of starving and ended with him missing a fingerprinting appointment that landed him behind bars for 2 years. He walked out in December 2024. He was 31 years old. The music he made before any of the rest of this happened is still out there. I Don't Like still sounds exactly like what it was, a record that created something. What he does with whatever comes next is the part of the story that hasn't been written yet. And whether it gets written at all depends on forces that have never been entirely in his control and some that have always been entirely within it. That tension between what a person builds and what they let burn is the part of Young Chop's story that doesn't resolve. It just sits there, open, like the last bar of a track that ends.
And there we have it, y'all. There we have it, Young Chop, man. You know, like I said, I had to do this video because he was a great producer, great beat maker, man. You know, seemed like he was an even greater friend, and he just needed a group of friends that can stick with him and actually guide him, hold his hand, shit. Like, you know, you got to understand that they try to say, oh, mental health this, mental health that. Well, you know, he going through shit, man. He from Chicago, man. He from the city where a lot of killings go on. He lost his mom, lost his granny. He probably ain't had too many people in his corner. Probably got used a lot by his friends. All the above, you understand? So thinking why he down ain't good. You know, I really don't do that. I don't promote that. I think uplifting him would be the best thing to do. You know, he make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. Gang, we're human. It is what it is at the end of the day. As long as you're able to bounce back from those mistakes and forgive yourself for those mistakes, and then just move forward in a productive way. Move forward with the same energy that you used to move forward with back then. And if it was negative, move forward in a productive way. And I think that's what he did once he got out of jail. You know, shout out Chop, because it's hard to bounce back. It's hard to reclaim that you know, a higher self that was once you. It's hard to do that, gang. So shout out Chop, man. Keep doing good work. Keep your head up and keep producing. Keep producing. Keep producing. Don't stop, Chop. Just keep producing, my nigga. Somebody out there watching you and they love your music and they don't want to fuck with you. So anyway, that's my time, man. I love y'all. Y'all make sure y'all take care, stay safe, and stay out the way. You feel me? Whatever creativity you got in your body, in your bones, push it, do it. You feel me? Do not, you know, doubt yourself. Don't do that. Just believe in yourself, believe in your craft. Everything take time. Take it one day at a time, learn, get better, and you'll grow. And eventually you'll be on top. You hear me? Giving other people a chance to get on top. Anyway, I love y'all, man. Y'all take care, stay safe.